Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Happy Memorial Day. Welcome to the channel, Shelly's Millions. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Trump's big, beautiful bill. I have not had a chance to look at it yet, so I thought maybe we would look at it together. And of course, if you'd rather discuss something else, budget, finance, or money related, just let me know in the chat and we can really customize this. All right. So before we dig into that, two things. One, I work at a movie theater as my regular job. So I know that Debbie is going to watch and she's going to want to know what the number one movie is. And it's not the little green guy, but it's the little blue guy. Stitch is headed off in he's just rocketing in his spaceship towards the number one slot. And then of course Mission Impossible. Hi Rocky, good morning. I wanted to look at Trump's big beautiful bill together today, but we did the number one and the number two movie. And I have to fess up every time I make a financial faux pas. I have to share it with you guys, right? So that you guys can learn from my mistakes. Last week, we were talking about I have that American Express Platinum, which has a $695 annual fee. And I'm trying to get my money's worth out of it. And I didn't realize, well, I knew it came with a Walmart Plus subscription. I don't have any Walmart stores near me. That is somewhere where I go to grocery shop when my mom didn't live with me because there was a Walmart grocery store near her. But now that she lives with me, there's not one near us. So I never signed up for the Walmart Plus benefit, but I just learned that it came with Paramount Plus, which I did pay for, and I paid for the whole year in advance. So if anybody has a platinum card, and really with the high annual fee, you really have to weigh the pros and cons of if that card's right for you. But if you have the platinum card, you get Paramount Plus as part of Walmart Plus subscription, which you get reimbursed through Amex Platinum. And my ding dong self, I paid for the whole year in advance. So I can't just start getting it free right now. And I think I did that like 1 month ago. So next year I will fix that and I'll get Paramount Plus for free. What my mom and I are watching. So here's our Memorial Day plan. And then I'm going to get into Trump's big, beautiful bill. We'll look that up. So today's we're going to watch the rest of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. It's not the one that's in theaters, it's the one that came out before, because right now we're at Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. So my mom and I are watching the original Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. So we're going to do that. And then we got out the grill. We're going to grill some hot dogs and some burgers, just food that we already had on hand. And honestly, the buns are about to go bad. It's a little overcast, but it's actually pretty warm outside. So that's what we're going to do today. We'll watch the rest of that and we're going to grill and we're going to call it a day. We'll probably do some laundry. I know, exciting. My roommate might come over and we might, well, my garage roommate that runs the garage, they might come over and we might watch the Dodgers game. And if we feel like it, because since I work at a movie theater, I get to see free movies. So we either might see Lilo and Stitch or we might go watch Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, because like I'd like to do that pretty close after I watch the first one. All right, now we got to look into this big beautiful bill. Trump's big beautiful bill. Thank you, Rocky, for saying good morning. And yes, mistakes do happen. And then I gotta share them with you guys. Okay. Oh, I also used the wrong credit card for the wrong thing this week. I'm really trying to be careful about that. But it happens. Okay. So all right, Trump's big beautiful bill. Trump's big beautiful bill. I don't really know anything about it. The one thing that I have heard about it is that it will give children born $1,000 to start with. And I'm all for that. I think that that's a better idea. If you like, they're going to give us money in Social Security anyway, right? But I think it's better to like give it to us first and like let that grow. I know Social Security is taxed out of our earnings, or like not taxed, but given to us out of our earnings. It's based on our earnings. Um, but I actually think it's better to kind of front load that and let it grow when we're young so that when we're a little bit older, that's had all that time to grow, right? Compounding interest is one of the best ways to like gain wealth. Okay, let's see here. I'm not sure. The House of Ways and Means. I this is a .gov website which you guys know I enjoy. I just find them to be a little bit more accurate. Let's see how long this is. This is not even that long, so let's look at it. Okay. This is passed. The one big, beautiful bill moves one step closer to President Trump's desk. Okay, so this means it's not finalized. May 22nd, 2025. Washington, D.C. American families, farmers, workers, and small businesses will soon see a massive surge in economic growth, wage gains, and higher incomes thanks to Trump's one big, beautiful bill, which passed the U.S. House of Representatives today and now heads to Senate for consideration. Okay, American families, that's all of us, farmers, workers, that's most of us. What is my pop-ups? And small businesses will soon see a massive surge in economic growth, wage gains, and higher incomes. Those are all good things, right? If it plays out that way. Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith issued the following statement. Today marks a major milestone in delivering lasting tax relief to the American people. The one big, beautiful bill locks in the successful 2017 tax cuts and builds on that foundation with bold pro growth reforms that will strengthen families, workers, farmers, and small businesses. Families stand to gain over $13,000 in take home pay, and workers could see wage increases of more than 11,000. More than 7 million jobs will be secure in the next 4 years through enhanced small business relief and made in American incentives that would reward hiring and investment here at home. Parents will benefit from an expanded inflation adjusted child tax credit and an enhanced standard deduction. Family farmers will finally get peace of mind with a doubled death tax exemption that protects their generational lands and livelihoods. We are delivering President Trump's promise of no tax on tips, overtime, auto loan interest, and tax relief for seniors, which will put more money in the pockets of millions of Americans every year. This bill represents a historic opportunity to deliver economic freedom for working families, farmers, and small businesses. The House has acted. Now the Senate must do its part and send this bill to President Trump's desk. The one big, beautiful bill makes permanent the successful 2017 Trump tax cuts and includes critical pro growth policies that will cut taxes by an additional $1,300 for a family of four and deliver higher wages and incomes for millions of Americans. A recent report from the Council of Economic Advisors shows the legislation will produce up to $13,300 more in take home pay for a typical family and up to $11,600 more in wages for American workers. I'm really curious how this will affect single people because it does mention families a lot. I'm a single worker. Scattershot 8 says just coming into the stream, the $1,000 for newborns was actually AOC's idea a few years ago. Yeah, I've read that, and I've also read that they don't necessarily care like that it's being rebranded as Trump's idea under his big beautiful plan, that she's just happy it's being done. Okay, Bob Leroy says corporations have been posting record profits for the last 8 years. They don't need more cuts. Expand Social Security and food stamps and medical benefits to seniors and veterans. I know, Bob, that reflects the wishes of my mom as well. And largely, I'm a little bit in the middle, but largely my wishes are for my mom to have the best life possible, right? So I am in alignment with your sentiments as well. Okay. The one big beautiful bill is a pro-growth tax policy, permanent extension of the Trump tax cuts alongside additional pro-growth policies will fuel a resurgence in economic growth. America's real gross domestic product, GDP, to increase by an estimated 5.2% over the next 4 years and 3.5% in the long term. 9.8 to 14.5% boost in investment in the next 4 years, and a 4.9 to 7.5% boost in long-term investment. 6.6 to 7.4 million full-time jobs saved or created in the next 4 years, and 4.2 million saved or created in the long term. Speaking of jobs, the job market is really, really tight right now. I went yesterday to get my global entry card from the Customs and Border Protection, I think. Is that what it's called? Yep. And I took a screenshot because they are definitely hiring. So, I don't know. I would love it. It seems like it would be cool to, I don't know. I want to be the person that interviews people for global entry. And I'm going to also pass that on to my friend. Okay. All right. 6 point, did I already say that one? I don't remember. I think so. Okay, the one big beautiful bill makes families and workers thrive again, makes the 2017 tax cuts permanent, protecting the average taxpayer from a 22% tax hike. Saves the average American family from a $1,700 tax week, the equivalent of 9 weeks of groceries. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. If you guys are enjoying today's live, please make sure to like the video. Delivers an additional $1,300 tax cut for the average family, delivers up to $11,600 in higher wages per worker. That would be nice. Delivers up to $13,300 more in take-home pay for a family with 2 children. Delivers on President Trump's priorities of no taxes on tips, overtime pay, car loan interest, and tax relief for seniors that will put more money annually in the pockets of millions of Americans. Up to $1,750 for overtime workers, $1,700 for tipped workers, and up to $450 for seniors. Locks in and boost the doubled child tax credit for more than 40 million families, and provides additional tax relief for American families. Preserves and increases the doubled guaranteed deduction for 91% of all taxpayers. Expands 529 education savings accounts to empower American families and students to choose the education that best fits their needs, whether it's K through 12 materials or obtaining a post-secondary trades credential. Supports working families by expanding access to childcare and making permanent the paid leave tax credit. Puts American families in control of their health care by expanding health savings accounts and cementing into law a Trump administration policy that offers more choice and flexibility for health coverage options. Starts building financial security for America's children at birth with the creation of new savings accounts. Okay, and definitely we talked about the high deductible health plan and HSAs, high health savings accounts. So that's probably I'm doing that next year, guys. I'll just be the guinea pig. And if I hate it, it's just 1 year, right? But I think I got it, right? We talked about that a couple of live streams ago. So let me know if you wanna know what finally snapped in my mind that made me understand those. Ugh. Okay, so fact sheet. The one big beautiful bill puts American workers first. We might look at that one in a second. Let me know if you want me to. The other fact sheet, this is a link, so it would click and take us off this page. The one big beautiful bill champions life and puts American families first. The one big beautiful bill makes rural America and Main Street grow again. It expands the 199A small business deduction to 23% and makes the deduction permanent, creating over 1 million new Main Street small business jobs annually and generating 750 billion in economic growth at American small businesses. Renews 100% immediate expensing for equipment and machinery, 100% immediate expensing for research and development in the US, and increased deductions for interest expenses, and supports the expansion of new production factories and growing operations in America by allowing 100% expenses for new factories, improvements to existing factories, and other production facilities. Stops the Democrats' attack on the gig economy by repealing their 1099K gig worker rule that would have required Venmo, PayPal, and gig transactions over $600 reported to the IRS. That just keeps getting kicked down the can. And yeah, I think I'm okay with that going. Reduces paperwork burden for small businesses and workers by increasing the 1099 MISC threshold to 2,000. So that would immediately affect me. I do often, but see, then is it even considered a small business? So my YouTube channel is a small business, and I'm a small business of one. I do make over 600, which is the current threshold. I'm not currently, oh, and by the time though I pay for StreamYard, which I use to stream, Canva, which I use for thumbnails, and a few other things, like I no longer I no longer am profitable, but I wouldn't even have to worry about those deductions. Like they wouldn't even send me a 1099 MISC unless I made more than $2,000, which I guess that would be kind of cool. Makes permanent and increases the doubled death tax exemption for 2 million family owned farms. Renews Opportunity Zone program to spur over 100 billion in new investment over the coming decade with enhancement to target rural distressed communities. 284 billion of new economic growth from American manufacturers. Fact sheet. The one big beautiful bill makes rural America great again. The one big beautiful bill makes America win again. Holds oh my goodness. I don't like this. I just don't like the way it's worded, and I don't like the way it points fingers at Democrats. Like I would rather see unifying language than like language that I feel like kind of diverse of like separates us. Holds woke elite universities that operate more like major corporations and other tax exempt entities accountable, ensuring they can no longer abuse generous benefits provided through the tax code. Like why do we have to call it? Why can't it just say hold universities? Why does like what how are we gonna define a woke university? And for that matter, like I don't know exactly what an elite university is. Is that like a special category? Like why can't it just say holds universities? Anyway, increases the university endowment tax and subjects the largest endowments to the corporate tax rate. So this appears like we're gonna tax schools. I don't like that. But again, this is just my first pass on this, so I definitely need to dig deeper. Increases tax on massive nonprofits that resemble hedge funds and pay their employees huge salaries. Ends 500 billion in Biden era tax breaks and special interest giveaways to the wealthy big corporations in China. Eliminates special interest tax break for billionaire sports team owners. That sounds good. Prevents taxpayer benefits from going to illegal immigrants by requiring a social security number for individuals claiming tax credits and deductions, ending illegal immigrant eligibility for Obamacare premium tax credits and Medicare, and applying new fees on remittance payments from illegal immigrants to outside the US. Fact sheet. Um, the one big beautiful bill makes America win again. Read more about the one big beautiful bill here. Okay. I don't know. So That's what they're saying right there about the big beautiful bill. Do you guys have questions? What do you guys think about this? Let's see here. Let's go back, I guess, for a second. 10 sneaky sleeper provisions. Ba, 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 ba. Inside, sorry, I'm just seeing if there's anything else that I really fiscally irresponsible. Benefits tax cuts to the wealthy and cost the government 4.6 trillion over the next 10 years. Okay, let's I have a feeling that most of this stuff will go back and forth a little bit, right? Um benefits to single people. um Fiscally irresponsible. One bit pros and cons. Changes for individuals. Okay. Do we want to look at a Yahoo article? Do we want to look at the taxfoundation.org blog? Not a blarg. Okay. The House passed Trump's big beautiful bill. Here's how it affects taxpayers and businesses, but we're not going to watch a video. The House of Representatives on Thursday approved President Trump's big beautiful bill and moved it to a key step closer to becoming law, sending the legislation to the Senate after a harried week of last-minute changes and 2 tenths all-night debates. In the end, House Speaker Mike Johnson muscled through the more than 1,000-page package of tax cuts, trims to the government's social safety net, and the new Washington spending on the narrowest of votes, 215 to 214. Republican Representatives Warren Davidson of Ohio and Thomas Massie of Kentucky joined all Democrats in opposing the measure. GOP Republican Andy Harris of Maryland voted present. It's quite literally in the morning in America, Johnson quipped Monday just before a final vote that came a little before 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Trump followed up after a passage by calling it arguably the most significant piece of legislation that will ever be signed and asked the Senate to approve it quickly. The final push for the package began on Wednesday evening with the release of a 42-page manager's amendment that offered a series of changes, most notably a more generous deduction for the state and local taxes, SALT, as well as more stringent work requirements for the Medicaid program. The plan will also raise the nation's debt ceiling by $4 trillion after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent warned about America's borrowing authority is at its warning track and could be exhausted by August. I am going to say, hi, Richard, good to see you. I am going to say that in terms of the budget ceiling, just raise it because who cares? Like every couple of months, they're, voting to extend it. Are they going to raise it? What are they going to do? They always end up raising it. So just raise it permanently. Raise it high enough that we don't have to waste their time debating back and forth if they're going to raise it, which they always do. Like, let's just raise it enough that we don't have to go through that all the time. Like that to me is not a good use of our politicians' time. Anyway, okay. The tab for all these changes is set to be sizable, with the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office finding that the bill will lead to over $3 trillion in new red ink over the next decade. A bill advancing in Congress will change the tax and healthcare landscape for millions. It could also usher in trillions in new red ink over the next decade. Health changes including benefit cuts to Medicaid, food cuts primarily to the Supplemental Assistance SNAP program, education cuts, including new limits on Pell Grants. You guys, I received a Pell Grant when I was in community college. I did not make enough. My family didn't make enough. Um, and the government subsidized that. And I got my AA in community college, but that allowed me to get that education. And even though it's just an AA degree, which is almost like just a high school degree at this point, like it did make me feel like I had a leg up, right? It gave me some confidence that I didn't have right out of high school. Um, like I'm smart, guys, like, I graduated with high honors, like and I had messed around kind of in high school. I ditched a lot, I just went to Hollywood, like, I didn't make the greatest choices, so community college is kinda where I fixed all of those things and I got on the right path, right? So yeah, I would be sad if some people did not have access to the Pell Grant. Okay, Richard says the vast majority of Medicaid recipients and SNAP are already working. And he gets $23 a month on SNAP. Yeah, and for the longest time, my mom would go to the food bank and you get some vegetables, some fruits, sometimes meat, sometimes meals, a lot of canned goods, a lot of day old things that the grocery stores are getting rid of. But she used the SNAP benefits to even when it was just $23, she drinks coffee and coffee creamer. And you can get boxed milk, which actually is not that bad, but you can get boxed milk but if she wanted like cold milk from the dairy section or cheese, and that actually is just kind of like the perfect amount to supplement like the dairy and the cold stuff that you're not going to get at the food bank. Da, 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 da. Okay, the CBO also released an analysis this week stating the bill's effect would lead to the bottom 10% of Americans seeing their household resources reduced by 4%. So that's kinda effed up, right? Like Richard doesn't wanna lose 4%. My mom didn't wanna lose 4%. Like, that would hurt a lot of people, and that's not gonna be good, largely through cuts to federal spending on Medicaid and food aid, while the top 10% would see an increase in their resources by 2%. That analysis further fueled the Democratic charges that the bill amounted to little more than a giveaway to the rich. Democratic House leadership slammed the package after the vote, saying it rips healthcare and food assistance away from millions of people in order to provide tax cuts to the wealthy, the well off, and the well connected. The bill will also reshape numerous corners of the American government if it is signed into law, with new spending included for action on the southern border for the U.S. military, for education cuts in areas like Pell Grants, as well as other areas. The bill could still see significant changes when the Senate has its say. Here are some of the provisions in the House bill most in focus for taxpayers and businesses. Changes for individuals, continuing lower rates to Trump accounts. The bill is centered around an extension of tax cuts for individuals contained in the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, signed into law by Trump during his first term as president. The immediate effect, if the bill passes, would be a continuation of the status quo for taxpayers after that 2017 law temporarily lowered rates, with this law aiming to extend them permanently. If Congress doesn't act, those lower rates will expire and go up to pre-2017 levels next year. If the bill passed, America's highest earners will see a continued top rate of 37%. That comes after Republicans debated but discarded an idea to raise the rate on millionaires. The bill also provides some new goodies for individuals. The most hotly debated tax addition involved deductions for the state and local taxes. In the end, Speaker Johnson acceded to a group of blue state Republicans, included a higher SALT deduction of $40,000 annually in the package, up from the current annual deduction of $10,000. The bill will also fulfill signature Trump campaign promises to eliminate taxes on tips, overtime, and car loan interest. Who is getting money on car loan interest? It also offers an expanded standard deduction for seniors after the president promised on the campaign trail to eliminate taxes on Social Security benefits. Um, so I would just like to say that I would not personally benefit from there not being taxes on tips, overtime, or car loan interest, but a lot of my employees, they do get tips. We have bartenders where I work, so they get tips and they get overtime. Even some of the managers where I work are salaried, so this would help them. And I think that everybody that I work with works incredibly hard, and I would love to see them keep more money in their pocket, and that would be a way for them to do that if they were no longer taxed on their overtime. It also might mean that employees were more likely to, like, be willing to pick up overtime, which we definitely need. And when people call out sick, especially, like, if it's a holiday weekend like this weekend, it's really hard to get people to come in and pick up the shift. So maybe if they knew that they would keep more of that overtime, then maybe they'd be willing to pick up the shift, and that would also be beneficial to us. Okay, so the no tax on tips and overtime provision exclude highly compensated individuals who fall above certain thresholds and were also recently revised to include gig economy workers. So I wonder if my managers, I think that they would not fall under that, but it'd be interesting to see. Analysts have pointed out that many of these politically popular but costly provisions are set to expire in 2029, just as Trump is scheduled to leave office as part of many changes that would be temporary. Other examples of temporary changes are an increase in the child tax credit to 2,500 from its current 2,000 level. Another is a $1,000 bonus to the standard deduction from 15,000 to 16,000 for single filers. So that would benefit me personally right there. Another $1,000 of money that I don't have to pay taxes on. So that's kind of cool. Both expire in 2029 as well. The temporary nature of these changes could end up increasing the final tab by a lot. The Penn Wharton budget model looked at the cost of the bill as it is written and found an increase in primary deficits of 3.3 trillion over 10 years. But a parallel analyst, if some changes were made permanent, found the cost balloon to 5.8 trillion over 10 years. The largest spending cuts in the bill were centered around healthcare and the Medicaid program, including new work requirements. After a flurry of last minute negotiations, the date for those work requirements is now set to go into effect not later than December 31st, 2026, after early plans had been for a 2029 beginning of these requirements. The bill also saves money through cuts to Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps. Analysis have found that those two changes could save over $1 trillion, but also cause millions of Americans to lose health care coverage and food benefits. Let me ask you guys this because I don't know this. So you guys tell me if you know. So what happens if we don't have healthcare and then people get truly, truly sick? Doesn't that end up costing us more in the long run? That's what I thought. Okay. Oh, Scattershot 8 says the reduction on taxes of tips, Social Security, EV credits, and other working class breaks would end in 2028 in this bill. It's all smoke and mirrors. Yeah. I mean, but I find that on both sides, right? I don't just find that with the Trump administration. I find that no matter who's in office, you give some things, take others. Scattershot says the only thing in this bill that is positive is the upgrade to air traffic control technology. What does it upgrade it to? I have not seen that mentioned. Okay. Other parts of the bill address things like estate and gift taxes, as well as measures to broaden the reach of health savings accounts and 529 education savings accounts. I'm interested to see how it changes health savings accounts because I think I'm going to do that next year. And so that should also benefit someone like me in my situation. The bill also creates new savings plans for children that were initially called MAGA, money accounts for growth and advancement accounts, but then changed late Wednesday night to something equally political, Trump accounts. Either way, the accounts would be jump started for US citizens with a potential $1,000 contribution from the government and then would allow contributions of up to $5,000 annually from after tax dollars. But the utility of these accounts was immediately questioned, with tax experts noting that existing 529 accounts have more tax advantages for parents, limiting the motivation to add more money after the government's initial contribution. Here's the thing though, I think a lot of people don't understand 529 accounts. I think a lot of people don't. So I think if it was automatically contributed $1,000 when a child is born, I think people would look into it more and maybe contribute to it more. Okay. The bill also has a few new wrinkles, such as allowing a 100% expense deduction for new factories and updates to existing factories. This came late in the process, in part after a White House push led by Basant. Another recent push for raising taxes on sports franchise owners was included in the bill after a push from the White House earlier this year. The budget reconciliation measure extends and strengthens the historic reforms from the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which leveled the playing field for American businesses and made it more attractive for companies to invest and grow in the US. Business Roundtable CEO Joshua Bolten wrote in a letter to lawmakers Wednesday. The bill also includes a rollback of clean energy credits implemented during the Biden administration for things like solar panels and electric vehicles. This was another hotly debated last minute provision, with the final amendments Wednesday night making the phase out of these credits even faster and the objections of many moderates. Another piece of the bill limited the ability of states to regulate artificial intelligence, saying that no state may enforce any law or regulation regulating artificial intelligence models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision making for a 10-year period if the bill is passed. And that limited the ability of states to regulate. So it limits our ability to regulate artificial intelligence, saying that no state may enforce any law or regulation regulating AI models, AI systems, or automated decision systems. Is that somehow going to affect the voting system? I don't know. Both the AI and clean energy provisions are potentially key tipping points in the months ahead, with some Republican senators openly wary of both provisions and signaling that they might move to amend them when the bill reaches their desks in the coming weeks. On the fossil fuel side, the bill also includes changes to make permitting less laborious, open up new lease sales, and reverse a fee on excess methane emissions. American Petroleum Institute CEO Mike Summers hailed passage, saying in a statement, "This historic legislation is a win for our nature's energy future." The business side of the ledger is also notable for what is not included. One tax change that has been hotly debated, with Trump even throwing his weight behind the idea, was closing the carried interest loophole. But no changes to that tax provision, dubbed by some as the favorite tax break of hedge fund managers, were in the offing when the bill was released. Likewise, changes to the corporate tax rate were often discussed on the campaign trail but are not included in the package. Trump often talked of lowering the corporate tax rate to 15% for US manufacturers, but the bill will leave the corporate tax rate unchanged at 21%. All right. Sometimes it's fun to read the comments. Let me know if you guys want me to read the comments on this. I hope that won't happen, Richard. If they get rid of HUD, you'd be homeless. PX NXWXGXW says you would have to be idiotic not to like this bill. Hi, Cindy. Okay. Steve says HSA amount you can place in the account will double if the bill passes. So I do like that. And Steve, you're somebody that you said that you have really benefited from an HSA. And that is something that I would like to do next year. I finally understand high deductible health plans, HDHPs, and how they connect with HSAs. But here is something that I always have to take into consideration. One of my goals is to contribute like the maximum amount to my 401k. And I'm contributing the maximum amount in order to get my company's match, but I'm not contributing like I think it's like 17,000. No, it's more than that. It's like 23,000. And then you can also contribute like 7,000 to either an IRA or a Roth IRA. And then on top of that, but you have to be able to afford to live without that money in order to like use it. Okay, Cindy says, I think not allowing IA limitations is similar to the phone AT&T breakup in the 80s. They don't want to limit the development of AI. If it's limited, it could put the country behind other nations. Okay. Well, I like that. Okay, for your solar 401k. So hold on. For 401k, I put in the max to get my company match, but I don't put in the federal maximum because this is a lot of money. This is 23,500, I want to say. Yeah, 23,500. And I'm not that far away. Oh my God. I'm not that far away from being 50. So the limit is going to increase to 31,000 because you can do 7,500 catch-up contributions. Additionally, I didn't know this. Employees age 60 to 63 can contribute up to 34,750 if their plan allows for a higher catch-up contribution. So, I would really like to be doing that. Max your ASA because you can use the money like a 401k. Yeah. So still the advice would be to just put in enough to get my company match for the 401k, then max out the HSA because with the HSA, you can use the money for medical expenses tax free, right? So that would be cool. And then I am also doing an IRA, but I probably really wouldn't need to. Like mostly I do the IRA for if I'm trying to lower my tax liability. At some point 401k is taxed, but an HSA isn't. Right. As long as you're using the money for medical expenses is my understanding. And you're not taxed on the growth in that account. But I think if you pull out the initial investment, you would be taxed if you're using that money and it's not for medical expenses. Is that correct? I might have that a little bit messed up still because I am still getting familiar with that, but I'm definitely going to do it next year and I'm going to try it. And then the plan is to leave all the money in the HSA, let it grow and pay out of pocket, right? And then What would happen though if it's like $20,000? I don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna see. I don't think it would be $20,000. There's studies that break it down. Even if you have like a chronic illness, they say it's still better to do the HSA. Um, and kind of here's my theory about the 401k being taxed. I guess I should look into this. Okay, hold on. So right now, seems like a good time to check in on. Oh, am I going to sneeze? I'm going to sneeze. And of course, I sneeze like as soon as I make myself bigger on camera. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, seems like a good time to check in on what my 401k has in it. It is still rising. It's not above the 400,000. Oh, nope. Just kidding. It's down, I think, a little bit from where it was last week. That's okay. Sure. Yeah. So for the quarter, I'm up 5.49%, and it's at $376,062. So, oh, that's so cool, Cindy. Yeah, Cindy, I think I'm going to do it next year. So, can you let me know how this works? Is it all medical expenses? Are you saving receipts and then receipts fade? So, are you taking pictures of your receipts? Like, I think Advil is reimbursed. Uh, pain medicine is reversed. Um, Reimbursed, right? Are you saving all the receipts for that? And then I couldn't quite determine the co-pays. Like, so let's say I have a high deductible health plan and the first 5,000 needs to come out of my pocket or something, or the first 15,000. I don't think it's that much. I think it's like the first 5,000. Am I allowed to hang on to those receipts for the 5,000? Can I hang on to those indefinitely, like, until I'm retired? Is that gonna be how that works? So, like, basically, am I paying the $5,000 out of pocket now? I'm not getting reimbursed because I want that money to grow, and then 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, I'm gonna pull out those receipts and be like, "Hey, reimburse me now?" And what are you doing to make sure that, like, receipts on things like this don't fade, right? This actually was given to me, but you guys know what I mean. Also, okay. So I have 376,000 in my 401k. 376,000 times 0.04, because they make you, once you're a certain age, withdraw 4%, right? So that would be $15,000. That would not be enough even after my mortgage is paid off. That would not be enough for me to live off of. That would be just over $1,000 a month. But if that were my only income, but in theory, there will be something left from Social Security. But if that were my only income, that's gonna be enough. They're already talking about doing the standard deduction up to 16,000. So this would be less already than the standard deduction. So none of that's gonna count. Like, I wouldn't be taxed on that, right? Or am I missing something on the 401k? That 4% annual deduction would be less than the standard deduction. And that's the thing. The standard deduction, I feel like it's just going to keep raising, right? In the next 10 years, it's probably going to double. That would be my guess. And then hopefully, I don't know. I don't want to hope that I have such a small amount that I'm not taxed on it, but it's possible, right? Okay. Cindy says that you have a debit card for expenses for your HSA, and then you have an account with the credit union. So you're not saving receipts to, like, reimburse at a really distant point in the future. Steve, if you're still in, because I know that you're also doing the HSA, and yours also grew. So I'm worried because I take medicine for high blood pressure. I take medicine for heartburn. Uh, I go and I do all my annual exam stuff that you're supposed to do. So I think that's covered at 100% though. like for women, mammograms for men over a certain age. There's like a well woman exam and then there's like a well man exam. I think all of that's covered at 100% no matter what plan you have. But I think the benefit, if I understand it correctly, is to save your receipts for a really long time and not actually use that credit card, right? So that that money can be growing interest free instead of reimbursing yourself right away. That was the kind of like epiphany that I had. Let me see. I still, okay. How to maximize an HSA. Okay, this is the AI thing. We'll also, no, let's just read. Let's read the T. Rowe Price article. Okay, I'm going to have another sip of coffee. You guys like the video? This will probably be the last thing that we look at today. And this is from October 25th, 2024. From how much you contribute to considerations for investing the money, here's how to use the account to save on your tax bills. Key insights. Health savings accounts offer a triple tax benefit for federal taxes. A good strategy is to contribute enough to the HSA to cover the next year or more out-of-pocket medical expenses. Contributing the maximum annual contribution and investing for the long term is the best way to get the most benefit out of your HSA. Avoid using the HSA as your emergency fund because non-qualified withdrawals are subject to ordinary taxes and possible penalties. Now that you've chosen your 2024 health insurance, you may be able to benefit from one of the best tax breaks available, the Health Savings Account, HSA. It pays to find out whether you're eligible to contribute to an HSA and 3 ways to maximize its triple tax benefit. How do health savings accounts work? Under a high deductible health plan, HDHP, which requires a minimum deductible of $1,650 for an individual or $3,300 for a family in 2025, you're eligible to contribute to an HSA. But how exactly does that work? Typically, HSA contributions can be made via payroll deductions and may include contributions from the employer. There are annual contribution limits depending on whether the health plan covers an individual or a family. Then you can use your HSA money at any time, preferably to pay for qualified medical expenses. In another article, they describe the insurance and tax factors to consider when choosing an HDHP. However, to take advantage of the health savings account, there's a different set of decisions to consider. The benefits of HSAs. As a quick refresher, health savings accounts offer 3 major benefits for federal income taxes. Contributions reduce your taxable income without having to itemize deductions. Growth of the account is tax deferred. Distributions for qualified medical expenses for you and your family are tax free. 3 ways to maximize your tax break. There are 3 ways you can maximize an HSA's potential. The right choice depends on your situation. 1, good. Contribute the amount of out-of-pocket medical expenses you expect to incur in a year and use it as needed. With this option, you'll get 2 of the 3 HSA tax benefits, deductible contributions and tax-free withdrawals. Since your balance would remain relatively small and you may want to keep it in cash, you wouldn't get much of the other benefit, tax-deferred investment earnings. There's also an advantage of HSAs aside from taxes. Unlike with flexible spending accounts, which I've had those before, like when I got braces or if you're going to do like big medical expenses, you have to use it or lose it. So for me, my deductible on my braces was like $1,000. So I put 1,000 in there. But if I, for some reason, wouldn't have got my braces that year and I couldn't come up with $1,000 medical expenses, you forfeit the balance. 2, better, contribute enough money to cover your medical expenses and then some. Aim to build the account to completely cover one or more years of maximum out of pocket cost. Only draw on the account for large or unusual medical expenses, not the routine ones. Doing this helps you reserve over time in case of a major health expense. Three, best, contribute at or near the maximum and invest most of it for the long term. So that's what I would be looking to do next year in 2026. This affords you the full triple tax benefit. For 2025, contribution limits are 4,300, an increase of $150 from 2024 for individual coverage, and 8,550 for family coverage, which is an increase of $250. With this approach, you should have an investment strategy for your HSA, just like you do for a retirement account. Because earnings in an HSA are tax-free, if used properly, you may want to invest the HSA more aggressively early in your career. Leading up to and during retirement, you may want to shift your investments to a more conservative mix. Ultimately, you'll want to draw down this account in retirement. If you're in a position to use this long-term strategy, the HSA can help cover significant expenses in retirement. Using tax-free distributions instead of tax-deferred accounts may also prevent you from jumping to a higher tax bracket or incurring higher Medicare premiums. That's really cool. Okay. Costly HSA mistakes to avoid. The tax benefits of an HSA are great provided the account is used appropriately. However, there can be downsides to an HSA if used in certain ways. Using the account for non-qualified expenses. If you do this before the age of 65, there's a double whammy, paying ordinary tax on the withdrawal plus a 20% penalty. That's worse than the 10% early withdrawal penalties from retirement accounts like a 401k or an IRA. After age 65, withdrawals for non-qualified expenses result in just paying the ordinary tax on the amount. Tapping into this account for non-medical expenses should be considered a last resort. Non-qualified expenses can range from the obvious, e.g., buying a boat, to a potentially surprising one, some health insurance premiums. Why are we not allowed to use the HSA for some health insurance premiums? Leaving a large balance to a non-spouse beneficiary. Upon the account holder's death, the non-spouse beneficiary will need to pay taxes on the balance in that same year. This could bump your beneficiary into a higher tax bracket. This is why it's better to draw down the account in retirement to pay for medical expenses as opposed to preserving it for your heirs. Fortunately, a spouse who inherits an HSA assumes ownership of the account and doesn't pay taxes on the balance. A few tips about HSAs. Amounts contributed to an HSA via payroll deduction are generally not subject to payroll taxes. So that's usually the best way to contribute, especially if your wage income is under the threshold for Social Security taxes, which is $168,600 in 2025. That said, if you find you're able to save more than you set up through payroll deductions, you can make additional contributions to the HSA on your own, up to IRS limits. As with an IRA, you have until your tax filing deadline in April 2025 for 2024 HSA contributions. The HSA should not be considered your emergency fund due to taxes and potential penalties for non-qualified withdrawals. While you can't make additional HSA contributions once you're enrolled in Medicare, you can use the funds in the account to cover Medicare premiums, out-of-pocket expenses, and even a portion of long-term care policy premiums. However, Medicare supplemental policy, Medigap premiums are not considered qualified expenses. I wonder why that is. Don't worry if you're not currently in a position to save for the long term with your HSA. Using the account to cover your projected medical expenses is perfectly fine, especially if you have other financial goals like saving for a down payment on a home or your kids' education. However, saving in an HSA early can give you more options down the road to pay for health care expenses. Now, here's the thing that I believe that I now understand about the HSAs. You don't have to reimburse yourself the same year that you made the purchase for the purchase. So, for example, I just got that new credit card that I need to hit the minimum spend on in order to get points. And I did just get my global entry reimbursed. So I'm still happy about that. I had a different card, but I didn't do my global entry interview. My friends didn't want to wait for me whatever. So, because so I could pay for my medicine out of pocket. I could pay for my doctor's visits out of pocket. And as long as I save those receipts for 5, 10, 15 years, I could just be like, oh, look at this. I'd like to be reimbursed for my medical expenses. So I can pay out of pocket up front. I can even use that. I can even pay medical expenses on a credit card, save those receipts, and then get reimbursed later. The only requirement is that, like, so for me, I don't have a high health savings account yet this year. So anything that I purchased this year, I can't go back and say, oh, I have the receipt. You have to like have the receipt while the high deductible health plan was in effect. And yeah, Cindy's saying you can use the health savings account now or later. So Richard, it's normally through your job. When you're deciding what kind of healthcare plan you want each year. So each year I have the option of waiving coverage, which I don't want to do, especially since I need blood pressure medicine. Like right now I have the plantar fasciitis going on. I've gone to the dentist. It's going to be 4 times for crown replacement, guys. So I've gone to the dentist 4 times recently. I've gone to the podiatrist. I go to the dermatologist. I've got something weird on my head that I want him to look at. I go to get my well woman exam. What else did I recently go for? Oh, my mammogram, which was separate this year. But anyway, so I'm planning on all of those things, but I could pay out of pocket in order to get a credit card bonus. Then 5 years down the line, ask for the reimbursement money from the HSA. But you do it during your elections for your company when you're choosing like what kind of healthcare plan you want during your working years, as I understand it. So for me, I could waive coverage. I can do like a standard plan. And the plan I have, there's not a deductible. I think it's like a $15 copay on some things. Then there's some things that no matter what plan you have, even if it's a high deductible health plan, they have to cover it 100%. But with the high deductible health plans, you're paying a lot of money, potentially out of pocket first before the health benefits kick in. Okay. And then Steve says, I don't really buy medicine. Do herbal, so you don't buy medicine from the store. You grow herbal things like hawthorn and nettle, so my meds are free most of the time. All my medical bills are turned in about 3 years. Yeah, that sounds like about a good plan. But yeah, I do have, that's so 4 times for the dentist, once for the podiatrist, once for the mammogram. I did something else. I don't know. Like, I feel like I've been to the doctor, like, crazy amount of times. So I guess I went to my regular doctor just to get the referral for the podiatrist. I've had, like, a crazy amount of doctor's appointments, it seems like, for someone that's relatively healthy recently. So I'm not sure how that would eat into it, and that's why I always was like, "What?" Like, my health savings account would never grow because I'm gonna be spending all of the money on prescriptions, on co-payments, on doctor visits, on teeth. The part that I didn't get is that I can hang on to those receipts for 3 years, so I can let the money grow. I can let the money accrue and gain with the stock market, and then 3 years down the line, reimburse myself. All right, you guys, have a great rest of your Sunday. Again, happy Memorial Day. I'm looking forward. I'm going to grill some hot dogs and burgers with my mom. We're going to watch a Dodgers game. We're going to finish watching Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, which is the first one before Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. If we get up to it, we'll either go see Lilo and Stitch in the theater today, or maybe Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. We have to both really be in the mood for it, though, because that's going to be it's a 3-hour-long movie, or as I like to tell people, you're getting the most value for your money, which of course we love value for money. All right. Happy Memorial Day, everyone. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Good night, Steve. Hopefully, let me know in the comments if you guys learned anything by looking at Trump's big, beautiful bill. I learned a little bit, and it would be exciting to have the higher standard deduction and be able to contribute more to your HSA. Since we were talking about that, let me just look under it. What, not what is the new maximum contribution to an HSA under, okay, I somehow hit my Trump's, oh my God, I can't type. Big, beautiful bill. Why did I hit all caps? Let's just really read this really quickly. Do we want to do the insurance one? No, we want to do the one from one day ago, even though it's just this Yahoo one. Am I sharing this tab? Okay, so just really quick, this would be if it passes, if higher contribution limits and other new benefits are included in the legislation that passed on Thursday. Tucked inside Republicans' big, beautiful tax package, which passed the House early Thursday, are provisions expanding HSA accounts, health savings accounts, including the biggest contribution increase ever for next year, along with a range of other benefits. It's definitely expanding HSAs with new things people can use their HSA dollars for. Kaye L. Pestana, Vice President and Director of KFF's program on patient and consumer protection, told Yahoo Finance. While an HSA can be a savvy way to boost savings for retirement and is considered a go-to tool by many financial planners, they were designed as a way to pay current healthcare cost. The provisions are aimed to get rid of certain barriers for lower income people that would allow them to double what they contribute annually. So it's good news, but they still need the money now, even though in theory they could leave the money in these accounts to save for future cost. The allure of HSAs. As HSAs offer triple tax advantage, it's the only account that lets you put money in tax-free, lets that money build up tax-free, and lets it come out tax-free for qualified healthcare expenses. Some states assess state taxes. Bleh, I bet California is one of those. In order to put money into an HSA, you must be enrolled in a high deductible health plan. In those plans, you pay a lower premium per month than other types of health insurance plans, but a heftier annual deductible, the amount you pay for covered medical costs before insurance kicks in. For 2025, that translates to a deductible of at least $1,650 for individuals, $3,300 for families. You can also open an HSA as a self-employed freelancer or business owner if you have a qualified high-deductible health plan. Some employers match contributions to HSAs. That would be cool. Mine doesn't. Similar to employer-provided retirement savings account, your contributions roll over year after year and are yours to keep. There's 20% withdrawal amount if you take it out early for an unqualified expense. What's in the tax package for HSAs? Oh no, this is a much longer article than I thought. So we're going to read this section and that's it. What's the tax package for HSAs? 1, increased contribution limits. In 2025, the contribution limit for an HSA is $4,300 for individuals and $8,550 for families. Individuals who are 55 or older can contribute an additional $1,000. Under the bill's provisions, annual contribution limits would double, jumping to $8,600 for individuals with self-only coverage and $17,100 for family coverage. That's a lot, so it could grow a lot faster. Increased contribution phases out for adjusted gross incomes between $75,000 and $100,000 individual and $150,000 and $200,000 for joint filers. Both spouses could make catch-up contributions to the same to the same HSA. Under current law, eligible individuals and spouses who are 55 or older by the end of the tax year can increase their contribution limits to up to $1,000 for their own accounts. Under the changes, spouses who are both eligible are allowed to combine their basic and catch-up contribution amounts and allocate them to one spouse's HSA. More flexibility with FSAs. When it comes to married couples, there are rules and limitations regarding HSA usage, particularly when both spouses have a FSA. Right now, individuals are ineligible to contribute to an HSA if their spouse has an FHA, but that prohibition would go away. Ooh. Oh, wait, what? Gym memberships and other fitness expenses qualify. Currently, funds from an HSA can only be used for qualified medical expenses, and your Pilates class definitely doesn't count. Under the new legislation, it would. Along with any gym membership, annual funds from HSAs for this expense would be capped at $500 for single taxpayers and $1,000 for joint tax filers. That's really cool. I definitely pay for a gym membership. I pay for a personal trainer. So yeah, that's really cool. 5, concierge medical care qualifies. A direct primary care DPC plan, often called a concierge healthcare plan, offers personalized top drawer healthcare services for a membership fee where you shell out monthly, quarterly, or annual fee directly to a physician or practice for access to services. Under current law, many of these arrangements are not eligible to be paid for with your HSA money. Under the provision, certain DPC fees would be HSA eligible if the fee did not exceed $150 monthly for individuals or $300 monthly where more than one individual is covered. More years to contribute. People who are 65 or older and enrolled in Medicare Part A would be able to continue to contribute to an individual HSA. Right now, when a person reaches age 65 and enrolls in Medicare, they can no longer contribute to a health savings account. Rollovers are allowed if you're newly enrolled in an HDHP and have an existing health FSA. You would be able to roll those funds over into an HSA. Plus, you would be able to use a distribution from your HSA as a payment for medical expenses incurred before the HSA was established, with some restrictions. More health insurance plans can provide HSAs. Individual market bronze and catastrophic plans would be treated as HSA qualified HDHPs under existing law. These plans offered in the individual market are not considered HDHPs, so they're ineligible to be paired with an HSA. Whew. Okay. Back to the future. How many Americans would be able to take advantage of the increased contribution limits is uncertain. Only about 11% of HSA account holders contribute the maximum. Jake Spiegel, a senior researcher associated with the Employee Benefit Research Institute, told Yahoo Finance. That's extra challenging while also saving for retirement, paying bills, and saving for kids' college. Meanwhile, the reality, as Pastina noted, is that most account holders use their HSAs to pay for current medical expenses and do not take advantage of all the tax benefits HSAs offer for building retirement savings, but that's starting to shift. Last year, roughly 3.5 million HSA holders, representing about 9% of all accounts, had invested a portion of their HSA dollars, up from about 2.6 million in 2022. The higher annual contribution levels could potentially push people to consider using these accounts as a retirement savings vehicle. Medicare has plenty of out-of-pocket expenses and doesn't cover most dental, vision, or hearing expenses or long-term care. On average, a 65-year-old retiree who left the workforce last year may need $165,000 in after-tax savings to cover health care expenses throughout retirement. Most people don't think about the big health hiccups that can occur. Unexpected dental costs or hearing aids can cost a small fortune. All right. Okay. So those would be the changes. That's cool, Steve. All right. I got to see if my employer matches. I don't think they do on an HSA. All right. We're saying bye for real now. Happy Memorial Day. See you next Sunday at 11 a.m. Thanks for watching Shelley's Millions.